With a more tame return to Starship Discovery from its mid-season break, will this next episode raise the stakes and action? We've also got the stakes raised with the return of a character from season 2 and 3, that would be Commander Nan, who left during season 3 to return to her people. Now she is back to make sure the job is done, but does she have ulterior motives at hand? Let's jump into the latest episode to see more. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get straight into it. The latest episode of Starship Discovery is called Rubicon, probably referring to a point of no return for Book and Tarka. The episode was written by Discovery writer Alan McElroy, who had previously written the great episodes Opal for Charon, Perpetual Infinity, and Forget Me Not. The writer may have been recurring, but we have a new director, Andi Armaganian, directing this episode. She has directed a bunch of CW shows, so it's nice to see her aboard, and seemingly from IMBD, she will also be going on to direct an episode in the first season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So we have that to look forward to. Now as a quick PSA, you may have noticed that we're currently suspended on Twitter due to action by Viacom CBS, now known as Paramount. Thank you to all of those of you who have sent support and tweets our way. Hopefully it won't be long before we're back up and fully operational to bring you the latest Star Trek news and of course the content we want to give to you. Our dedication has always been to the Star Trek universe and yourselves, the fans. That's never going to change, but in the meantime, let's go fast. If you do want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you are talking about Star Trek, then we do want to hear about it and talk about it with you. Okay, engage. Okay, the latest episode, let's dive in and see what the action actually is. Now first we have to talk about one of the best parts of the episode, and of course that was the return of Rachel Ashaw's character of Commander Nan. Her character departed the ship in the 3rd season, when she elected to stay behind on the Seed Vault ship, the USS Tikov, in order to return it to Barzan, her home planet, and give the family who died on board the ship a proper burial at their home. It turns out that she wasn't actually on Barzan for very long, as she really didn't know how to connect with her family line she found there, mostly due to the fact she couldn't say that she was from the past. We do get an insight into what she has been doing the last couple of months between when we last saw her in season 3 and when we see her now in the episode. She did in fact come back to Starfleet security and was put into a covert mission in order to deal with the Emerald Chain holdouts. I really like this episode, and the previous episode has done more with the fact the Emerald Chain existed. As you might know, I was kind of disappointed the Emerald Chain was a faction just seemingly disappeared after Asira was defeated, so I'm glad that we do have some ramifications for that faction existing in the first place. Personally, I can even imagine a book with Nan coming soon, to get into his missions due to the outer sectors, in dealing with these Emerald Chain holdouts and making tough calls to save her people. That I would love to read. Another great thing which we touched on in the trailer breakdowns when we first saw Nan was going to be back, but it's worth repeating. This is how 32nd century technology has led the Barzans to be themselves more outside of their home planet. They no longer have cumbersome breathers, simply some little nodes on the side of their faces, and they're no longer affected by their eye colours changing when they're not in their native atmosphere. It's these little details which really makes me like Barzans as a people, and what Discovery has done with them through Commander Nan. The evolution of the people, I love it. Now having tracked Book and Tarka to a rogue planet, the Discovery's plans to send a cloaked shuttle to override Book's security features, and then get on board the ship and talk down with two or take him in with force. I really like this mission just from a layer of a team, and we get to know about them. Discovery Season 4 has been really getting better at giving us more of a bridge crew of Discovery and more talking scenes. And this mission we get some arguing between Bryce and Reese about Book's behaviour. Reese actually sides with Book, and this makes sense considering what we know about Reese from his childhood town and how it was destroyed by a hurricane, so we can understand the pain somewhat of what Book is going through when it comes to losing his planet and his family. Now it's also nice to see how wanted Bryce is as a character. For me, he's probably one of the most undeveloped characters on the bridge of Discovery, which is a massive shame because some of his content in ancillary content, like the book Dead Endless, is great. But seeing this season, him consulting on the USS Discovery, now working with Dr. Kovich to find a means to communicate through the galactic barrier is fantastic. Though talking ways to communicate past the galactic barrier, a great thing they could take from the book Dead Endless is the idea of communication through mycelial space, instead of subspace. This was a project headed by the minds of Bryce, as well as communication specialists, as well as Tilly and Stamets having a know-all of mycelial space. This could be a great way to use the Pandora's box of mycelial space and tie into other technology, not just propulsion. However, speaking of that, they still haven't said whether Discovery itself can jump outside the galactic barrier, but considering it isn't getting brought up, this means it probably cannot. Talking about things that aren't explained, On the shuttle mission, we learn that not only can people not beam on the Book ship due to its security systems in place, but also Tarka installed a new security system. The former is interesting, and seemingly was installed after the mission Choose to Live, where Rogue call up Malat nuns, and the goons were able to board the ship and take on Book's forces. This is likely a continuity error, and it's not explained in this episode why this feature wasn't there in previous episodes, but can easily be explained as such. Now, the new security feature which Tarka installed seems to just be an autonomous swarm of programmable matter, which attaches itself to anything that tries to dock with Book's ship. This episode really doesn't do itself any favours by having Book now be involved in the endangerment of Starfleet lives and the destruction of a Starfleet shuttle, but Burnham gives him the benefit of doubt due to a connection with him. Even though Nan is there to negate that, it doesn't really work. After this failed mission, the Discovery chases Book into the eye of the storm in the dark matter anomaly, DMA. We get a very nice game of cat and mouse between Book and Burnham. Having spent a year together doing courier gigs and dangerous missions, these two really know each other, one-upping each other attempts at hiding and chasing one another. This really was an episode about the relationship between Book and Captain Burnham, which in a way the season has highlighted heavily. How close these two people are, knowing what moves they're going to do, and working around that to further their agendas, whether it's destroy the DMA or not. We also have Tarka and Nan in a sense acting as their advisors to Book and Burnham, both trying to make sure that they do the right thing at the end of the day. However, we have Nan who trusts in what Burnham does, which allows her to succeed in the negotiations to stop Book from firing the isolytic weapon. To Tarka who does not trust Book and takes matters into his own hands as some might expect, firing the entire volley of quantum torpedoes at the Discovery, and then at the very end causing the negotiations to fail by taking it upon himself to fire the isolytic weapon to destroy the DMA. So, with the DMA destroyed, everything should be good, right? Well, wrong. After the scene afterwards should have really made a pervading dread feel in the uncertainty of what happens next, whether it's being amplified by character dialogue or simply with music starting to play. However, the scenes after the DMA is destroyed are quite tonally opposite to that. We have a really nice scene of Nan talking to Burnham, with even Nan asking if she could come back to Discovery one day, which I really liked, might I add. And then a really touching scene in which Saru asked Dr. Culber for some help with the relationship between him and Tarina. Now of course, these scenes are really sweet, but felt really weird coming after such a devastating thing had just happened in the galaxy. Probably these scenes need to be placed here, but it felt weird. What I did really enjoy, however, was the revelation at the end of the episode. Not only was the destruction of the DMA all for nothing, and it was revealed in the earlier scene that the DMA power source was not found by Tarka, and their power source was actually on the other side of the wormhole, but that even after destroying the DMA, another one simply replaces it. I would not actually be surprised if this act of destroying the DMA doesn't even provoke Species 10C. If they have the power to just create DMAs, I wouldn't be surprised if they could also just not be bothered by an isolytic blast at the end of the day. This very much tells us that creating a DMA is extremely simple for Species 10C, and the fact one of theirs got destroyed is no big deal. Akin to us having our shovel destroyed and simply getting another one from the shed, lovely analogy, it is fascinating that Tarka bet all of it on this and was wanting to be the bad guy, letting Book off free, just so he could get the power source and leave, not having to deal with the consequences of his actions. But now having his gambit did not pay out, not only does he lose out on not being able to get to his home in another alternate universe, but also having to deal with the consequences of going against and betraying the Federation. Personally, I feel this is one of the weaker episodes of Star Trek Discovery Season 4. and very much felt like a way to move the story from one place to another. I felt this was a very cluttered episode. We should have focused more on Book and Burnham, with Nan and Tarka acting as the angel on Burnham's shoulder and the devil on Book's shoulder. This episode needed to be more focused on what it was trying to say and how it said it. The DMA cat and mouse game was fun, but could have stylized it differently, perhaps more akin to Wrath of Khan, which had the stress of not knowing where your enemy is. I have to say, I did enjoy how the couple knew each other's moves, and expected that and changed their own moves accordingly, so a combination of the two might have been best. Perhaps it starts like it does in this episode, but after destroying each other's sensors, we go into more of a submarine style fight between the two ships. Now that could have been awesome. I will say that the editing and cuts during the cat and mouse game inside the DMA was actually really great. Some of the spore jump cuts between frames were exquisite, and really heightened some of these scenes regardless of how I felt about them. Additionally, the inside of the DMA, beautiful. The episodes really seem like it wants to try and make it so Book is not the bad guy. The episode is really in conflict with itself on this. You have other characters arguing Book's case, and you have the concept of Burnham saying these are tough calls aren't always black and white. It's always all in or nothing. There can't be a middle ground. But then Book and Tarka are nearly responsible for killing Saru, Culber, Reese and Bryce, and actually destroying a Federation shuttle. I imagine those aren't cheap. But then everything is forgiven because Book agrees to wait a week before destroying the DMA. Having Tarka then fire the weapon gets Book off scot-free, so I guess we could look to a future episode to see if there's actually any ramification for Book's action. Book himself says he wasn't dragged along for this, it was something he decided to do, That means he is culpable for destroying Federation property, stealing confidential equipment, endangering Starfleet officers, and firing on Starfleet ships. Not exactly a walk in the park in court, I'm gonna say. All in all, I'm really excited for Species 10C, and the continuation of the story arc. This technological giant who just doesn't care or simply doesn't perceive us as being worthy of concern, nor what actions we can do. This could change depending on how the future episodes go, because I'm assuming this DMA is just going to continue doing its job and not really change the Species 10C operation at all. I just think this episode could have been a lot more focused to get us where we wanted to go. Did you like this episode of Star Trek Discovery? Remember to let us know what you thought via the comment section below, because if we're talking about Star Trek, then of course we want to hear about it. If you do want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media, apart from Twitter currently, or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon with more Star Trek content. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.